At back-to-back title winners, the only one we've had in the past 10 years would be Manchester City, and it was their third season, which just finished a month and a half ago, where they let their levels drop, which allowed Liverpool to finish, 19 points ahead of them in the league. Liverpool are now looking at their third season of high-intensity football. Look what happened in the last two seasons. Do you see them being able to maintain it this season, Stephen?
Yeah, I do think they will be able to maintain it. I think, like Danny's just said there, when you haven't had a full pre-season, and the players, to me, I've watched a couple of the pre-season games and they don't look up to speed yet. They look like they're sort of growing into the fitness. But in the Premier League, you don't get that opportunity to have that. I think what today highlighted is that they do need additions. Thiago, I think, would be a huge plus for them in a game like today, where the possession stats are down. He can dictate the tempo of the play. He can, he almost drops in that, we always call it a quarterback position, but he just dictates it, slows the game down, takes the press out of Leeds, or takes the tempo out of Leeds' play. Comes with bags of experience, and I do think that is someone that, if Liverpool do want to progress and they do want to keep at the highest level of not only English football but European football, they need to go out and they need to make that acquisition to add to that midfield sort of. I suppose you'd say it's a different type of player that they don't have in the ranks as yet.
Thiago Alcantara. Now, today, there's a little rumour going around that he could actually be going to Manchester United. A stronger rumour than what we've seen over the past week and a half or so. Can he improve this Liverpool side for you, Danny?
You have to improve. You have to keep buying. And, you know, you go back to what Manchester United did. They got rid of Ronaldo at crucial times. They got rid of Beckham. They got rid of Jaap Stam after winning, 3 back-to-back Premier League titles and the Champions League. But they brought other players in. They freshened it up. Sir Alex was the master at freshening up his team, creating competition within the ranks. Liverpool haven't really done that for a couple of seasons now. And that's where what Steve's suggesting is, it's not necessarily players to come in and add to the first 11, but it's real competition for places, or the fact that you can change your style very, very slightly. You can slow a game down. You can kill it off. I was a little bit surprised that maybe James Milner didn't come on instead of Curtis Jones, with all his experience, just to sit and be very, very solid, to see out the game, to make sure they win that game. But Liverpool are going to be very, very strong. Liverpool's biggest problem, I think, is the fact that Manchester United are stronger. Manchester City will come again, and they will be determined, to win more games this year. Chelsea will be stronger this season as well. Arsenal look like they're going to be stronger as well. So it might not be, Liverpool could be exactly the same, this year. But I think they're going to have tougher games against a lot of those teams, and they might lose a few more points. Not because Liverpool are drastically different from what they've done, just everybody else is caught up. And if that means Liverpool suddenly lose 3 or 4 games, which is quite conceivable when you look at some of the quality that those other teams have added, they may still win the league. But I think because of that, it will be an awful lot closer.
Why don't we take a look at some of the spending which has been made by the so-called top 6, the big 6 clubs within England, compare and contrast, and across various transfer windows as well. At times, it looks absolutely minuscule how much has been spent. Obviously, Chelsea, this transfer window, are by far the biggest spenders, really splashing the Hazard cash, the Morata cash as well. And we're even expecting more acquisitions to come in potentially before the transfer window closes at the start of October. But if Thiago Alcantara comes in, do you expect Wijnaldum to stay? Is it crucial that they keep him there to ensure they have a squad big enough to compete in all fronts, in all competitions, Stephen? And if Thiago comes in and they keep Wijnaldum, Keita seemed to come good towards the tail end of last season under Project Restart. Whose place has he taken the side?
Well, I think he plays in that deeper role. I don't think it's... there's a lot of talk around Merseyside that Wijnaldum has to go for the deal to happen. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think likes of Harry Wilson, Marco Grujic, Ryan Brewster, if these fringe players leave and they raise enough money for the 30 million that Bayern Munich are after, I think they'd more than happily keep Wijnaldum. I think when you think of adding to that midfield position. Liverpool's midfield has to be dynamic every single game. They have to play at 100%. And I think it's something that Jurgen Klopp's looked at and decided that he needs to be able to rotate in that midfield position more often because of the amount of games that they had last year. And they have to be able to maintain that at a higher level to retain the title this season. So I think in an ideal world for Jurgen Klopp, he buys Thiago and he also keeps Wijnaldum as well.
So just want to clarify, you think that perhaps selling the younger players is a solution for Liverpool here, if they want to splash the cash? Your Brewsters, your Wilsons.
Yeah, Harry Wilson's been out on loan now a couple of times, had a good loan spell at Derby, did well at Bournemouth. He's been talked about going to maybe Aston Villa or Newcastle. There's been clubs that are interested in him. Ryan Brewster, again, not in the squad today, not involved, but the opportunity to go and play first team football. Sheffield United apparently interested in him, maybe one or two others later on in the window. If you can raise the cash from the fringe players that aren't necessarily going to improve your team, whereas Wijnaldum is a starter for Liverpool. We've seen that from Jurgen Klopp. He's his sort of go-to guy in the big games. He always wants to play him in the big games. He knows how reliable he is. But would you rather sell him or would you rather sell the players that are going out on loan and raise the funds from that? So I think if Jurgen Klopp has the option, he raises the funds from selling 2-3 players of the fringe.
Well, there's been a little bit of history in that respect, Danny. I mean, I think back Solanke, Ibe, Danny Ings as well have all helped generate funds for Liverpool to go and to buy players that are now currently at the side.
Well, if you talk about Ibe and Solanke, they haven't gone on. They haven't developed and they haven't really fulfilled their potential. So you look back and go, that was fabulous business by Liverpool, to get the good money in for those players, because they didn't go on to be the stars that maybe everybody expected them to be. And that's what Stephen's right. Sometimes you have to buy players for the now. You cannot just keep stockpiling for the future. And I think that's what Chelsea have done. Bringing in Thiago Silva at the back, you might only get 2 seasons out of him, but that then